In America, we are taught that the best path to success is simple: work hard, save money, and buy a house. This dream, the engine of the American middle class, is supposed to be available to everyone. But that is the first, most corrosive lie of the American economy. Because for millions of people, particularly black families, the system was never designed for them to win. The crushing wealth gap, the inability for black families to pass down equity, the staggering differences in neighborhood quality. These are not accidents. They are the calculated, devastating result of a deliberate, government-backed policy known as redlining. And it is the single most important secret that explains why America's promise of prosperity failed an entire race. To understand the scale of the deception, you have to go back to the 1930s. The Great Depression had collapsed the housing market. The federal government stepped in, creating agencies like the Federal Housing Administration, FHA, to stabilize the market and insure mortgages. This was supposed to make homeownership safe and accessible, but it did the exact opposite. The government tasked a separate agency, the Homeowners Loan Corporation, HOLC, with creating residential security maps for every major city. These were simple-looking maps, color-coded like a grading system: green for best, blue for still good, yellow for declining, and red for hazardous. The hazardous label was reserved almost exclusively for neighborhoods where black and immigrant families lived. This is the key mechanism of generational oppression. While white families in the green zones saw their home equity surge, funding college educations, small businesses, and comfortable retirements, black families were locked into communities starved of capital. This scarcity was absolute. No bank loans meant no funding for local businesses, no tax revenue for good schools, and no capital for infrastructure, leading to decaying roads, under-resourced hospitals, and limited fresh food access. The red color on the map guaranteed systemic disinvestment in every aspect of life. The insult became injury when black families, through immense effort, did manage to buy homes. Because the entire neighborhood was labeled hazardous by the government, the homes were devalued by design. A study of redlining found that by 2017, homes in historically redlined areas were worth 44% less than homes in historically greenlined areas. This isn't just a number, it is a $156 billion loss in potential wealth for black and minority families over decades. This was the architecture of systemic racism written into law. If your neighborhood was colored red, regardless of the quality of your home or your ability to pay your mortgage, you were deemed too risky for FHA-backed loans. The banks were told, "Do not invest here." This policy was brutally effective. While millions of white families could buy homes with government-insured 30-year mortgages, building massive amounts of wealth and equity, black families in the redline zones were locked out. They were forced to rent or buy on predatory short-term contracts that offered no equity or stability. They were denied the single greatest tool for wealth creation in American history. The consequences of those color-coded maps are not historical footnotes. They are the foundation of modern inequality. When a neighborhood is redlined, not only can its residents not get mortgages, but the entire area is starved of capital. Public services crumble, schools deteriorate, grocery stores and health clinics vanish. This intentional starvation of capital is why you see such stark, immediate differences between neighborhoods separated by a single street, a green zone and a red zone. The system was designed to ensure that the wealth white families built automatically appreciated, while the capital black families were forced to spend was guaranteed to lose value. The lie is amplified by what happened when black families did manage to buy property in white areas. This was met with violence and intimidation. White communities literally burned houses and used bombings to enforce residential segregation, all while the police and local government turned a blind eye. But the system also introduced legal tactics like restrictive covenants, clauses written into property deeds that legally forbade the sale of the property to non-white buyers. Even after the Supreme Court ruled these covenants unenforceable, the damage was done. The segregated map, created by the government in the 30s, had become physical reality. So, the next time you see statistics about the staggering black-white wealth gap in America, understand this. It is not a result of a work ethic problem. It is not about saving habits. It is the direct, measurable, and intentional result of a system built to exclude. The lie of the American dream is that it exists outside of history, but the truth is, the wealth and stability enjoyed by many were not simply earned. They were insured by the government and built on a foundation that explicitly denied that same security to others. To fix the modern economic crisis, we must first confront the ghosts of those red line maps. We must acknowledge that the price of housing today is still dictated by the racist policies of 80 years ago. The path to economic justice begins with recognizing that the theft of wealth was not a crime committed by individuals. It was policy created by the state.